What's up, my ballers? My name is Keisha Swafford, and I'm here with Dexter Henry. He is a Brooklyn-born and multi-talented video journalist. I'm really excited to get to know him and his story. I'm getting into journalism as well, so he's already an expert in journalism. So I met him at the Colorcast. So how are you doing, Dexter? How are you doing?
I'm good, Keisha. I'm so glad you decided to have me on here. I'm excited to join you and talk to you about whatever. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff, but I'm excited.
Right. Just a little info about him. He obtained his bachelor's in media communications after graduating from the University of Pittsburgh, and he has 12 years of experience. So he's a vet in the business, and he's in broadcast and print media. He has written for the Brooklyn View, New York SportsScene Magazine, the Canarsie Courier, NYCHoops.net, and RedstoneReport.com. Also, he has his own media outlet, Backpack Broadcasting. We're going to be talking about that. And he has produced live and original content. So he's done content for his own media stuff, and also he's done, stuff for, other print and media broadcasting circuit. So I'm just excited. He's in my freelance video journalism. So he's done, freelance and broadcasting. So I just wanted to know, are you a national weather reporter now for AccuWeather, or you decided to go back to sports? I think
so. Yeah, I transitioned back to sports. I was with AccuWeather for about 3 years doing some weather reporting as a national reporter. But I've transitioned back to sports now full time. So yeah, that's where I am.
Awesome. I just want to know, the first question is, what attracted you to storytelling and journalism?
Yeah, that's such a good question. For me, I think I always loved writing from the time I was a little kid, right? So like the passion for writing was just always there, and reading, that too. So just reading and writing. And then you combine that with I love sports. And I was saying this to somebody earlier. What I noticed about myself was by the time I got to about middle school, I was always getting the paper every day. They used to kind of call me paper boy at the time in middle school and high school. I get the paper every day back when people got papers. I'm reading on the bus, I'm reading on the train in New York City, headed to school. And I just always was reading the sports section. It was always there. So that passion was always there, combined with the writing. I did some writing in middle school, some sports writing for our school newspaper. I really didn't dabble in much in high school. And I didn't think about it that much, Keisha, in terms of it as a career, really until I got to college at the University of Pittsburgh. I originally went to be an athletic training major, and then I just wasn't feeling the science courses. This wasn't what I wanted to do. And I saw some guys on campus doing some stuff for the television station, starting up a sports network. And I was like, that's what I want to do. So I decided to do it and pursue it. And the love was there. I just loved everything about it. I loved the shooting, the editing, the writing, putting stories together. And I just really focused on my craft. And that's where it was. But I think that passion was always there with me. I loved the sport since I was a kid. Grew up a big Knicks fan, Jets fan I used to be, and a Mets fan at the time. And so, yeah, I used to be. I left that team. They don't they causing me too much angst, I'll say, too much pain and misery. So I said I don't need that in my life anymore. So I left that. But the passion for sports was with me from a kid. And so it just stayed. And I'm lucky and blessed that I've been able to combine two things that I've really loved into a career, and I've had a lot of success with that. So I'm blessed for that. But the passion was always there since I was a kid.
That reminds me of myself as a kid. I love writing, love reading. Reading Rainbow was my favorite show.
Hey.
That's a classic right there.
LeVar Burton. Shout out to LeVar Burton. Yeah.
I know. He's still doing his thing. He does narration now.
Yep.
And he has a master class. So I was like, it makes me want to like join master class because I really want to learn from him.
Yeah, from him is a good person to learn from.
Yeah. And I'm just amazed by your story, because you inspired me, because you have to have a passion for what you're doing, and you can turn your passion into a career, and you're a testimony to that. So I'm very excited, for people to hear this and know that, hey, I can do it too.
Thank you. I think I will say this, Keisha. I think that's definitely important for people who look like us to see other people doing it. I know how important that was for me. And so to even hear you say that, Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think that's what you do these things for. You hope that you can inspire other people to do it and help them in any way that you can. That's the way we should be giving back in this industry for sure.
Yes, representation matters.
Absolutely. Definitely.
And going these stories that you told and over the years, what stories have impacted you the most?
Yeah, that I love this question. I think the stories that have impacted me the most, Keisha, are stories, particularly in sports, that go a little bit deeper into communities, especially concerning people of color. And then myself as a Black man, concerning our community as Black people. I think a lot of times, we look at the NFL, we look at the NBA. NFL is 70% Black, NBA is 90% Black. We see a lot of Black bodies on the field, on the court, but sometimes there isn't us telling those stories or getting into the in-depth of where we come from, our communities, our struggles, where we're going, where we're advancing to. And so I think there's a lot of stories for underrepresented communities in this country. And whenever I've been able to do work on that, those are the ones that have impacted me the most. If I'm able to tell the story of some young people or athletes just using their voice. I won a Telly Award for a story I did independently last year for my series Sideline, stories about athletes using their voice during the time of COVID, during the protests that we saw last summer. I once did a story about people gathering together in New York for standing for Colin Kaepernick or what the fight that he had. So I think anytime, if those are the stories where I'm able to connect to real people and athletes in that way, I think those are the ones that impact me the most and leave me feeling fulfilled as a journalist, if that makes sense. When I'm doing that kind of work, I feel fulfilled. I think it's I don't want to say easy, but I think it becomes very repetitive to just be like, oh, I'm at this game and this is the score and this is who had this many points and this is who did this. There's so many deeper stories within sports. And so that's kind of always been my goal in my career, to try to push and tell those stories. And those are the ones that leave me feeling really good or impact me in a positive way, I'll say.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that because yeah, that's what kind of stories I want to tell, that really get into the emotional part of people's story and just impacts people on a positive level. I want to inspire people with my stories, and I love sports as well. I played basketball in high school and always loved writing and sports. So marrying those two together was like the best thing for me. And yeah, I love that you are digging deeper because sports is more than just, Stephen A telling about the score or whatever, or, I like Stephen A, but
Right.
there's more to it. There's a deeper meaning to sports than people realize or I guess seem to care. I don't know. People may
Yeah.
not care about that, but
But I'm glad we do. I'm glad we do.
yes, we need more journalists like you that care about, the athlete's story instead of, what they did on the court.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm trying to do more with that. Appreciate that.
Oh, you got it, you got it. With your media outlet, Backpack Broadcasting, would you tell me more about that?
Yeah. So that started, the way I like to talk about that is that started out, Keisha, for me as a necessity. And there's a little story behind that. So one of my mentors, who I actually just got off the phone with before I hopped on here with you, he kept telling me when I got out of college, I started in print media, as you detailed before, and I was looking for more opportunities on camera, but they just weren't coming. And one of my mentors was like, why don't you start your own thing? You need to do something around backpack journalism. You know how to shoot, you know how to edit, you know how to write, and you can be on the go and do it. And so he had planted this seed in my head, but I didn't really do it. And then I had one of my cousins, she was kind of always pushing me like, you need to be doing your own thing. You need to start doing this. And I was kind of like, yeah. At the time I worked for a company, and while working for this company, they had told me they would give me opportunities to do stuff on camera. And they ended up not keeping their word. And I saw white boy and white girl after me get hired, and I was passed over for opportunities. And then I knew it was time. And my cousin
Always
was like,
get it in writing.
yeah, I learned that. I was young then, and I didn't know that. At the time I was in my mid-20s, and I didn't do that. And I'm glad you said that. I know that now. Always get it in writing. Facts.
Exactly.
And, my cousin was really pushing me then, and she's the one who came up with the name, actually. She's the one who said Backpack Broadcasting, and I liked it. And so what I started it as was just a outlet for myself I was already at these games. I was at Jets games, Giants games, Knicks, Nets, whatever around New York. And I already had the access, and I talked to some of the people there, and I was like, well, I'm shooting all this stuff for this company. Let me keep some extra stuff that I'm not using for them and start doing my own reports. And so I started doing it, and I got a little bit of a following. Here's what happened though. The company, they found out about it. I wasn't doing anything that was wrong or breaching my contract. They didn't like it, so they tried to shut it down. And they were like, look, if you want to work here, then you can't do this. But what I decided to do was, I was like, okay, I'm not going to let that stop me, because at the time I didn't have my own gear. I bought all my own gear, got a laptop, got a camera, got stuff. And so I wasn't able to cover the pro sports teams anymore. But I noticed there was a need in New York City, particularly in Brooklyn, where I'm from. There was not a lot of people covering on the digital side, online, high school basketball. So I started covering high school basketball. And because of that, I started sort of blowing up in a way. A lot of people would know me at these games. They'd see me. They'd be looking for my stuff. The channel started getting a following. Even the local news station here in Brooklyn, News 12, they started noticing. I ended up working for them years later. And it got me a lot of opportunities because I just actually went out and did my own stuff. I put in the work. I did my own reports. This was all by myself, shooting by myself, editing by myself, but I loved it. And because of that, I'm grateful. It gave me a lot. I would not be talking to you today about the things I've accomplished and done in my career if I didn't start doing my own thing. So I like to tell that story because I think it's a lesson for a lot of people, young journalists, people trying to get into the game. You don't have to wait for somebody to give you an opportunity. You have to take it by your horns and try to do it yourself. And I'm very glad I did that. And then it evolved into other things, Keisha. It became, I did a podcast. I have the Sideline Story series. I have another series called the Sports Walk. I started a show that I do now, the NBA Exchange. I host that 3 times a week. So it's evolved into other things, but it started off with me just saying, look, I want to get the reps to do some more on-camera reporting. And there was stuff around me, and I did it. And even when there was a roadblock and they tried to stop me, they did it, because nobody can stop you. Only you can stop yourself. So,
Amen.
I believed in that, and I believed in myself. And look, I still think today, till this day, doing what I do for my own stuff with Backpack is literally the engine that keeps me running. It's what motivates me and keeps me going. It's what I love to do. There's nothing like creating for yourself. So, yeah, that's the story of Backpack, pretty much. It came out of a necessity. I wasn't getting opportunities, and I was like, all right, got to create my own.
I understand that.
You do.
Living in a small town, and there's like not a lot of outlets, internships you can do, but as far as the opportunities, they're limited. So, I decided after working for the newspaper, I was like, I wasn't getting any on-camera opportunities, wasn't getting any jobs. I was like, well, I need a reel, and I don't, as long as you had to be a college student in order to do internships. And I was
right.
Like, so I was like, well, I'm just going to start going around town and start videos, different events in the area, and, start doing my own camera stuff. And I started promoting people's businesses and making money off of that. I was like, yeah, I'm making money.
See, and look, the beauty of that is you probably started that and had no idea it would work out that way, right? Like you had no idea it was going to work out that way. Neither did I have any idea these things were going to turn out this way, but you created an opportunity. And I think that's the important thing, Keisha. What you did is what I try to stress to younger journalists, or people who just getting in the game. Like, that's what you should be doing. You should be doing this podcast. You should be creating opportunities for yourself, trying to reach out to other people like myself. So that's why when people like Keisha come to me and say, hey, can you come on my podcast? I'm like, of course, because I know what it was like to be in that position. And I never want to lose sight of that. So especially as a Black person in journalism, sports journalism, it's important we give back and keep encouraging. And what you're doing is empowering too, sister. So we got to keep doing that,
Yes.
Got to. Yeah.
Yes. Like, just recently this, I love promoting people, and I love, celebrating people. And it was a girl's birthday. Her name's Kate. Shout out to Kate Hotnet. She's so cool. And she has a sports channel. She has a YouTube channel, but she doesn't do sports. She said, I'm totally obsessed with you. And I was like, really? Me? You know, like she loves my content and, she's like, we need to hang out and everything. So, you never know who you're impacting. You never know
Mhm.
who you're inspiring and, just being yourself and sharing your passion with other people. It impacts people in a positive way. And when you get that feedback, it's very encouraging to keep going. And
What you said there is so perfect. You never know who you're inspiring. You also never know who's watching. And
exactly.
that was one of my big shocks when I started backpack. Just to bring it back to that for a second. I
Mhm.
remember pulling up to some high school games, and there was a time when a little kid, maybe a kid is like 8 years old, 9 years old or something, he's in the stands and he just called me. He's like, yo, that's backpack. And that was crazy to me because
Oh wow.
I didn't think that somebody was even really watching my videos. And that was insane. So you never know, like you hit the nail on the head there. You never know who you're impacting. And that's why, you got to be mindful of what you're doing in a positive way, but
Right.
also continue to do what you're doing because people are watching. They're looking. People looking to be inspired too.
Right. Yeah. And people like even at work, they're calling me like balling with Keisha. I was like,
There
really?
we
Y'all?
go. There we go. I like it. I like it.
I'm like, oh, really? Thanks. But yeah, it's just so cool how the internet can really connect people that you don't even know, and you impacted a generation. You're impacting a generation, a little kid. So it's
Yeah,
amazing. It's mind blowing sometimes, and it's very humbling too. Because then you're
absolutely.
like, you gotta make sure you're on your P's and Q's, but also you gotta make sure you have a good reputation.
Yep, definitely.
And so I know there's changing technology over the years. It's been 12 years in the business. How have you adapted to
Yeah,
that
so I'm
changing
actually gonna make
technology?
myself older. It's actually been 16 years for me in the business. But how have I adapted to change technology? So I think I'm always a forward thinking person in that way with technology, Keisha. So I'm always looking at what's new, what's going on. I think one of the biggest things I learned because of the time I graduated college in 2005 and coming into this industry, we were really shifting over to fully into the digital age. And I remember at that time, a lot of older people in the industry were kind of like, where's this going to go? People aren't going to be watching videos on their phones or watching online. And I was looking at that like, y'all
Really?
crazy. Yes, they will be. Like this, what are you talking about? And I've seen also older journalists not embrace social media. And I think what you have to do is find out what works for you. Even though I'm becoming sort of like an older journalist now, I still I've used social media. Social media is what helped a lot with Backpack, to be completely honest with you. I was able to put my videos up on YouTube. I was able to tweet them out because I started in 2010, so it's right after the start of Twitter. And then,
Right.
Instagram's growth of videos, I put a lot of stuff out there. So that's been it for me. There's some social media stuff I haven't got down with yet. Like I'm not big on TikTok. I haven't. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
eventually try. I'm not anti it because that's my thing. You can't be anti stuff. You have to
Yeah. You
at
gotta
least look
embrace
at
it.
it, yeah, and see how it works for you. If you start being, oh, I'm not doing that, or oh, I'm not doing this, you become the old head sitting in the corner that no longer has a place in this because you're no longer relevant. So I
Yeah.
think you have to learn to adapt. Media is adapting and changing. You have to learn to adapt and change with the times. And so for me, it was like, I didn't grow up as a high school kid with social media. Social media kind of Facebook just started right at the end of my time in college. So I had to adjust to these things. You had to see where it's going. Now I don't see how you could do anything as a
Right.
business or a journalist without social media to promote your work. And so even for me as I would say an older millennial, I have to like push myself a little bit more to, all right, you got to make more posts. You got to push this out a little bit more. It's all about pushing your work. And I learned a lot from younger people on, how to play this social media game because they grew up in it. So it's a different
Yeah.
vibe. So I think if as an older journalist, if you always have the knowledge and understanding that you can learn from younger people, you can also help them along. We all have things to learn from each other and embrace technology. You have The bottom line, Keisha, is you got to embrace technology. If you don't, you're going to be lost in this game. And it's not, I don't think that's the way you want to play it. So embrace
Yeah.
the technology. I always have because I'm sort of a tech head. I like a lot of technological stuff anyway. I'm reading CNET all the time and what's the new latest stuff on this. So yeah, for me, it was kind of easy, to be honest, but I've also seen other people not embrace it and it really impact their careers in a negative way.
Yeah, you definitely have to, like, I'm starting TikTok
There you
and
go.
at first I was against it. I was like, everybody's doing TikTok. But then I
Right.
was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it out. Because I started I'm in a fantasy league and they're doing TikTok, like he was like taunting me with TikTok, like I'm gonna win. I was like, oh no, you can't like challenge me now. I gotta get on TikTok and say something. I'm competitive. That's how I started
Okay.
TikTok because I'm a competitive person. I was like, I'm gonna
Hey,
challenge you with a video, and plus it's a good way to promote my podcast. So, I mean, I have to do it. I had to do it, and then now I'm more people are like, oh, she does sports. I was like, yeah, I do sports. You gotta let people know what you're doing.
yeah,
So
that's the one platform you might have convinced me, because that's the one platform I'm not on. But you might have convinced me. I got to try it out. I can't
yeah,
be against trying it. I just haven't got, at one point, I guess it was for me, it was like I was kind of like, man, it's so many platforms, right? Like, how do you keep up with doing all of this? But
exactly.
a friend of mine, she's been talking to me into doing some stuff on TikTok. So we got to make that happen.
Yeah, it's fun. There's so many like features to it, and I was like playing outside, and I was like, I'm not a football player, but I did pretended to be a football player, and I fell. Like I seriously fell. But it was funny. And then I put it like, "This is how we do it" by Montel Jordan, and I
Old
fell.
school. Okay.
Right, I like old school music, and so then it was like, wow, this is a video, and then people liked it. So you never know what you can come up with TikTok.
There you
It's
go. It's about putting yourself out there too, right? So
right. I like
that's
being
dope.
on camera. I like
That's
making
dope.
people laugh. I like making people laugh. So if I can make someone laugh, so much negativity in the world. TikTok is if I can find a way to make people laugh through TikTok, then I'm doing my job.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Right. What do you love most about your job?
What I love most about my job, what I love most about journalism in general, particularly sports journalism, is that no 2 days are the same, right? Like, whether I've done a lot of stuff in journalism, but no matter what you do, nothing's the same. And I think that's the thing I love the most, is that you can wake up every day, you can do something new. There's a new story, there's a new angle, there's some new content to produce, right, Keisha? You never know what you're gonna get out of it. I've known this about myself since I was younger. Like, I hate monotony. I hate like we're doing the same thing over and over. I at least can get in rhythms, but I need something to be different. And so that's what I love about what I do as a journalist and a content creator, is that nothing is the same. And I'm always feel like I can be excited by something new or challenged by something new. So yeah, I think that's the beauty of journalism. If you really love doing something different, if you really love telling different stories, if you embrace the new, this is for you, for sure. So yeah, that's what I love. That's what I love about journalism. It's no 2 days are the same.
Yeah, I feel you on that one because I can't, just working in a customer service right now, it's the same thing every day. You
I've
know,
been there. I've been there. Yeah, so I feel you on that. I've been there.
yeah. So
Hmm.
I'm just like, oh gosh, I just want to get into journalism and, do, but I go to games and freelance and I love doing my podcast. So I have my outlets where, I can produce content and be creative because I'm a naturally creative person. So I'm glad that, you got out of customer service and got into
I did.
journalism.
Thank you. Yeah, you will
Um,
too.
yes, speaking of like, changing technology, Colorcast
Yeah.
is something that really blew my mind. One of my friends on my podcast on the podcast network I'm in, Venora, she told me about Colorcast, and I was like, "What is this?" Carry live, like you're a sports announcer, and it was really cool. And I was like, "Okay, I'll check it out." And that's how I found you on Instagram. We connected. Well, it was a Colorcast, like all the
Yeah.
Colorcasters, and they were telling each other, who they are and what they do. So I saw you on there. And I was like, let me see what he's about. So
Yo,
why did you decide to
so
join
I learned
Colorcast?
about Colorcast via LinkedIn, and one of the founders had made a post about doing some stuff around Steelers games. And I told you in the beginning of this podcast, I told you I was a Jets fan, and then I've now switched over. I'm now a Steelers fan. You can see the terrible towel behind me if you
Yes, I
watch.
see it.
So I now root for the Steelers, and I was like, okay. And then my mentor, who lives in Pittsburgh still, he I reached out to him and talked to him. I was like, yo, we should do some games together. and he was like down to do it. And when I spoke to the founder, actually we had a phone conversation. I was like, man, this is, shout out to Evan Kirkham. He's the one who's helped start a lot of this with Colorcast. I spoke to him and I was like, man, this is really a dope platform. And it's kind of, I'm glad you segued this off of coming off of technology, because I think one of the things that's going to be the future of broadcasting and sports broadcasting, and I think it's really dope, is alternative broadcast, right? To for people to listen and watch sports. I think people are tired of listening to the same old traditional way. And not saying that those things are bad. And I still love listening to a good call by play-by-play and color guy. And I do some of that work too in sideline reporting. So I like that. That's fine. But I think it's great when somebody could be like, hey, let me hop on and see what Keisha has to say about, you know, this game, about the Saints game that's going on. I'm just throwing a team out there because
Right.
you're in Louisiana. But, you know, let me hear, I want to hear a woman. I want to hear a Black woman. I want to hear an Asian woman, a Latina woman. Like, I want to hear different voices on this. And this is what something like Colorcast gives you the opportunity to do. You can look at a game, go through, see, oh, this person, let me hear what they're saying there. You could come in, people come in and jump in on a hot seat. I think Colorcast is a really dope idea. And I think what's interesting about it is, it's going to be interesting, the generational shift in it. Because I think a lot of younger sports fans are definitely going to jump on this and embrace this.
Right.
There's going to be some old heads, and I ain't there yet, but there's going to be some old heads that are going to like, I don't know, it's not traditional. But I think it's the future. I think people want options. And I think that's something that's really important in terms of sports broadcasting and content creation today. Are you giving people options? Are you reaching diverse audiences? Are you really about that? And this is a free and open space for people to do that. And so, yeah, I think it's dope. And like you said, it's not maybe or maybe not. If it wasn't for Colorcast, we were able to connect.
Exactly.
And I've connected with some good people on Colorcast, and now I'm thinking about having them on, you know, my podcast. They want me on their podcast and things of that nature. So it's just also opened it up a bit more to being able to connect with people. And I think it's really good. And for any of your listeners who are, you know, listening, check it out. You know, I'm not saying it because I'm somebody who does casts on there, but I actually really think it's a dope product. And I think that it's really the alternative broadcast or the future of what we're going to see in sports. Hell, ESPN's already doing it. Look at what they're doing with the Monday Night Football with Eli and Peyton. So,
exactly.
You know, and what I love about this is it doesn't just have to be all celebrities. It doesn't have to be former athletes. There are people like Keisha, myself, who are sports journalists and content creators that you can hear our viewpoint and opinions on different things around sports. So, yeah, shout out to Colorcast. It's really good.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. And it really got me into like the NBA finals last year. And, you know, it was just cool to like, it feels like you're a part of the action and, you know, you're into it like, okay, wow, I'm like basically there. It feels like I'm there. So I think it's very interactive. I love collaborating with other people. Slay and Chill was another guy that his name is Sam, but I connected with him. And then now, you know, I'm going to be on his podcast and then he can be on my podcast. So it's like you collaborate with other creators and it's really fun to, you know, get to know other people. And, you know, it's a powerful thing, these Colorcast and all these apps. So you never know until you try it. You know, you don't knock it till you try it.
Yeah. And I'm gonna be looking for you on Colorcast and whatever you do next in casting. I want to see you now.
Balling. Oh yeah, it's balling with Keisha. I go on Fridays. So that's my show. So yeah.
All right, I'm gonna check you out.
Yeah, please do. What do you love most about the sports world?
What I love most about the world of sports, or the sports world, is that it's what I loved about sports all the time, right? It's watching people at a very high level compete and do things that are just amazing. And I'm the kind of person that's like, sports is always getting better. Athletes are more talented than they were ever before. As you evolve as people are pushing themselves. The beauty of sports is not just competing, but pushing yourself to higher levels. You know, we look at what Simone Biles was able to do and the kind of moves she's able to execute that no other female or some even male gymnasts have done before. That's amazing. That's the thing I love about sports, is just seeing people push to the next level. Okay, we had Jordan and we've had LeBron. Like now who's going to take that to another level, right? And that's just the beauty of sports. Some people get stuck and be like, oh, my era was better. And back in my day in the 90s, they played ball this way and now they shoot too many threes. And I'm always like, man, you're not even appreciating the game. Like, the game is dope and the evolution of the game is dope. And it's just a different style. But these are still amazing athletes. and we can appreciate them through all different eras. So yeah, what I love about sports is just the constant evolution, the growth, the thing athletes are doing and seeing that they've never done before. We're going to continue to see that, and it's just an amazing thing to watch and be a part of.
Yeah, I love Steph Curry. I love him doing threes.
Yeah,
He
yeah, me
it's
too.
exciting to watch.
Yeah, yeah, but you'll get people. When I talk to people much older than me, they're like, "Yo, there's too many threes in the game. I can't stand all these threes in the NBA." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine, but you got to understand people have more range than they did even when I was growing up. I played basketball too, so I understand like back in the day, you weren't encouraged if you were a bigger guy to shoot a three, but now people are working on their handles more. They got better guard
Mhm.
skills. So you got big guys that can do things. There are big guys in the NBA, like what Giannis does or what
Yeah, I
Carlton
love
Towns can
Giannis.
do. Yeah. Like
And
a guy
he's
of
very
that
versatile.
size. Yeah. A guy of that size 20 years ago wouldn't even be coached to do that on the high school level. So just the evolution of that and that skill set, that's amazing. You can't love basketball and tell me you don't marvel at that. Then I feel like you don't really love basketball.
Right, like, come on. It's just, it's like music. Music wasn't the same back in the day. Back in the day it was
Yeah.
different, but now it's
Yeah.
it's it's something that, it's always going to be changing. It's always, you got to adapt to it and just
Yeah.
find the good things that you like. There's good things that old people like that in
Absolutely.
music. I know they be disrespecting
Absolutely.
Drake. They-
Yeah.
like there's so much you can learn from, other artists and, athletes. It just, I love it. You
Yeah.
can't knock it, man.
I'm with you on that. I'm so with you on that.
Now, I know that you made the transition. I know you from sports to weather to sports. What made you get out of weather?
That's a really good question. What made me get out of weather? What made me get out of weather, if I'm being completely 100% honest, was a toxic work environment. That's
Oh,
really what made me get out of weather. I mean, I always had the Jonesing to go back to sports. An opportunity came out for me to weather and to report nationally, and I did that. But and I think I did great work. I know I did. I don't think I know I did great work there.
yeah, you did.
Um, I thank you. I just and I was able to do some stories about things that impacted people of color around the weather and stuff that I'm very proud of. So that was good. But I eventually knew it wasn't going to last. And the work environment there was toxic, and I don't think it was necessarily conducive for people who look like us.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, I decided to leave it because I just didn't think that my skill set was valued there in the way that it should have been around it, what I brought to the table. But it's a valuable lesson I learned because it taught me a lot, Keisha, about whatever I do next, whether it's in a full-time role for somebody else, if that's the next chapter for me, what I value in terms of culture at a place. And I think now as people in the workforce, especially younger people, it's time to start demanding that. It's time to start holding people accountable for what they do in terms of the workplace, in terms of making it more diverse, more inclusive, actually supporting people of color in these spaces. So that was a huge reason to me not going there. And that's no shade to anybody at AccuWeather or where I used to work. There's plenty of great people that work there, but management, nah, man, they were they were toxic, and that happens. And it's nothing. I'm grateful for my experiences. It was a great lesson for me, and I've learned something good about it. And I know more about what I want for myself as a journalist, the content I want to create, and what I want for the people working around me in terms of supporting me. So I'm grateful for having learned that. Like that's a dope thing. There's nothing bad that came out of it.
Yeah, every experience is a lesson, even if it's toxic. Because I've been in toxic environments, and
Hmm.
you just have to learn and grow from it. And you know, eventually you may be hating those people.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? What I'll say this too, for this might help somebody who's listening too. You know, I've done sports, I've done news, I went and did weather. And when I was doing weather, I was kind of wondering, I was, man, how am I ever going to get back to sports? Am I going to get pigeonholed in terms of being a weather reporter? And one of the best things I did during my time at AccuWeather was I was doing a lot of sports and weather stories, how weather was impacting certain sports. One of the stories I was really proud of, I was in your home state of Louisiana. I went to LSU, And
Okay.
LSU, yeah, and I was down in Baton Rouge. I think I was telling you about that. I was down in Baton Rouge, and LSU has these sort of containers that was made by this guy to help players cool and bring their body temperatures down when they're practicing in the crazy heat as it is in Baton Rouge and
Wow.
humidity. Yeah, so it was a really good story. I did a good piece on that, and that was really cool. And that was the year before they won the national championship. So that was really cool. So I got to do some things. I got to involve myself still in sports. I stayed connected to sports in a very good way, and doing stories that maybe really hadn't been done before in terms of sports and weather. So,
Yeah.
wherever you
Yeah.
work, you got to think about the opportunities and try to make it work for you. Somebody told me this a long
Out of
time
the
ago.
box thinking.
Yeah, out of the box thinking. Somebody told me a long time ago, is like, you have to, whatever job it is you take, you got to make sure you get everything that you need out of it. So when you leave or you're done or whatever else you do next, you can look back and say, yeah, I did everything I could to get out of it, to better myself as a journalist or whatever it is that you do. And so when I look back, I'm like, yeah, I did that. So I'm good with it.
Yes, I agree, and that's really good advice for, young journalists starting out. And do you have any other advice that you can give to young people trying
The
to get into
big,
the industry?
yeah, you know what my biggest piece of advice is, like, seriously, and I say to people, somebody might listen and laugh, but it's like, please do what Keisha is doing. Please, like, when I say that, what I mean is, please create your own stuff. That is the biggest thing I could say. Create your own stuff, build your community, support other people who are creating your own stuff, and give back. I cannot stress that enough. Too many times, I think there are a lot of people waiting for opportunities to be given to them by bigger corporations. Listen to what Keisha said on this podcast. Keisha said she was interning someplace. She could no longer intern anymore. They weren't giving her on-camera opportunities. What did she do? She went and created her own opportunity. That's exactly, fundamentally, what I think a lot of young journalists should be doing. And the beauty of this, think about it. Somebody 20 years ago, really, 25, even 30 years ago, they couldn't do what we were doing if doors were shut or opportunities weren't given. So now in this age where we all have, and I'm holding this up for people to watch, and we all got a cell phone, right? Even if you don't got the best camera that you want, you maybe have a laptop, you can do stuff. You can make this work. Like, there's ways to do this and invest in yourself in the time. And that's what you're doing when you start your own stuff. You're investing in yourself.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing I could say, Keisha, is don't wait. The other thing I would say also is, study your craft. You see people out there that you like what they're doing, study it, but don't lose that. And you got to find yourself. You got to still have your voice and your flavor and what you bring to the table. Be knowledgeable, because, as much as you can. A lot of sports people think is you do not have to be a walking encyclopedia. You do not have to know every single stat. What you have to be able to do is, especially if you're going to be on camera, you have to be able to speak well. And I mean that in terms of not speaking as we try to do sometimes, and saying that Black people need to speak well and speak a certain way like other people. When I say speak well, I mean concisely,
Enunciate.
clearly, enunciate, delivery, pacing, not talking too fast. Those are all things about be verbose, but not overly verbose. Those are all things in speaking well and just delivering, being able to deliver your point, execute it, and move on, especially if you're trying to do stuff on camera. Know things about storytelling, learn all aspects. If you're going to do a podcast and do video, learn some editing. If the more talented you are, the more skills you have in broadcast journalism and content creation, is the better you're going to be. If you're just trying to be on camera and you're a one-trick pony, it's not today. It's not going to work. You have to have multiple skills. You have to know how to do a whole bunch of different things. But with all that being said, none of that starts until you jump. So you got to jump. You got to create your own stuff. And if you're listening to this, do what I did. Do what Keisha is doing. Create your own stuff. I cannot stress that enough.
It's so freeing. I think it's so empowering, to create your own content and not have to listen to what people say and, what you have to, put out there. It's very, freeing. So, I wholeheartedly agree that, you have to make sure that you do your own content, and people will see that and be like, oh, I want her on my, on the podcast or on my news station, because she knows how to take the initiative and create stories on her own. And they love that. People, news directors, they love when you take the initiative and do your own work.
Good news directors love that. And that's a good point that you made. Good news directors love that. And the other thing is, I would say to that point is, we talked about this a little bit earlier, you never know who's watching. And just because somebody tells you no, or somebody shuts the door on you, doesn't mean that somebody out there, especially when you're doing stuff on camera, somebody will see your talent, somebody will believe in you. And just keep that in mind, and keep in mind the people that support you. And that, because that's super important. The people that support you through this is where you have family, friends, so important, man, because there's some days you're gonna feel like, oh, this is not happening for me, this isn't popping off, but keep that support and that positivity in what you're doing in your goal. And I still need to tell myself that today. So don't act like I've not like I've conquered it all. Like I still have times where I'm like, man, man, I don't know about this industry. But and that's real. But
Yep, it
you know
sure
what?
is.
But sometimes what humbles me and brings me back to that point is the passion and doing my own stuff, and then even meeting people like Keisha, like yourself, Keisha, and talking to you and seeing what you're doing. That always motivates me even more.
Oh, thank
You
you.
know, yeah. So yeah, kudos to you again, sister. Kudos. Yeah.
I got one more question for you,
All right.
Dexter. Uh, I just really enjoyed this conversation. It's so inspiring, and
Thank
just
you.
seeing, just seeing Black people like us just doing our thing, and just being able to be positive and encouraging and help people that are discouraged, especially during these times. Um, One more question: who is your favorite NBA team? I'm sure it's the Knicks.
Oh, yeah, you can you see from the shirt already.
Yeah, I see this
Um,
already.
I'm a I'm a
You've been a Knicks
diehard
fan.
Knicks fan. Oh man, I've been a Knicks fan since I was 7 years old. Um, I love the
They're doing pretty
Knicks.
well right now.
Yeah, yeah, we're doing as we're talking. I'm watching. They're beating Chicago's undefeated. We're about to get them up out of here from the
Okay.
undefeated ranks. But yeah, I'm a diehard Knicks fan. That now most people, I feel most people, especially younger people, like younger Knicks fans, I feel bad for them because they haven't really seen any winning. I had some teams. We had two teams in the '90s went to the finals. I've never seen them win it, but I love that. I love orange and blue. I love my Knicks, and yeah, I'm happy they've turned things around. They're looking more competent. And so I'm excited about. I don't think they're championship contenders yet, but I'm excited about what the future is for them because they're starting to turn things around. They're playing defense. They've got a culture now, and so I'm excited with where they're going and what could be. So we'll see. But right now, I don't even try to get too ahead of myself because I've seen them lose and suck. I've seen them suck for a bunch of years. So right now, I'm just like, man, we're gonna live in the moment. We're gonna enjoy this right now,
Right.
and we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Well, I hope they get further along, maybe close to the playoffs.
Thank you. I hope
But
so too.
I guess most likely the Lakers are going to be. I don't know. The Lakers are not doing so well, so I don't know.
Yeah, they're not off to a good start. It's so early, man. You can't.
Yeah, it's
I would say,
still the beginning of the season, so you never know.
yeah, you can't go crazy over this stuff. It's beginning of the
Yeah,
season, and
people always quick to predict.
yeah, you never know. Look at that. It's funny I said that, and this game just got a lot closer than it needs to be. So yeah, you never know. I was just out here puffing my chest. So you never know with this stuff. You never know.
Yes. Well, I'm just gonna close the show, but please tell us, where we can find you, and so we can share. And I know you have a podcast, so let us
Yes.
know what's going on with you.
Yeah. So if you want to check me out, you want to see my work, I host a sports and hip hop podcast called Ain't Hard to Tell Podcast with my man Brian Fonseca. You can follow that at AHTT Podcast on all Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're on there as well. If you want to follow me personally at D Henry TV, same on Twitter and Instagram as well too, and Facebook, my professional page. I also do a sports series called The Sports Walk, which is cool. I just walk around with some sports fans and have them share their takes. I got to come down to Louisiana and get Keisha on
Yeah.
the show. We got to get that done.
Yes, we have to.
We got to get that done. That'll be fun. See, I'll come to you where it's warm. You don't got to come to the north where it's cold. We're gonna do that.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, I gotta get used to it.
Get used to it. I understand. I understand. Also do a series called Sideline Stories as well, where I work on some longer form stories, which is what I really love and am passionate to do. And then I have this basketball show, the NBA Exchange. We talk to NBA every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. That is live on the Backpack Broadcasting YouTube channel. All the content I do is not live, but on the Backpack Broadcasting YouTube channel. So give Backpack Broadcasting a follow on all platforms. Yeah. Subscribe on YouTube. That'll be appreciated. And yeah, that's really everywhere you can find me and find what I'm doing for sure.
Okay, well, we're definitely going to follow you. And also just follow me on Ballin' with Keisha podcast, and everything is Ballin' with Keisha on Instagram, and Twitter is Keisha_writer24. And so I just want to end this wonderful show with this: stay brave, stay bold, and stay ballin'. Peace.